Hello there folks, SeKo Starcraft here. Game number 2, Gonzy Community Cup Finals. It is a ZVP. The tournament was all about ZVPs for some reason. Speed it up slightly at the beginning here. Lot of Zerg versus Protoss in this. Couple of mirror matchups, but somehow the brackets always seemed really lined up for a ZVP. We are cross positions. So this is a very different map than what we would have just seen on Overgrowth. And we do see a pylon go down in the front, and I'm interested to see if this is for cannons, or if this is for the Nexus first. Last game we saw that Sjors was completely fine to throw down that hatch first, and on this big of a map it would seem very, very logical to do such a thing as well. And it will be a forge first on this map. So it looks like we'll get some cannon action. It is a hatch first once again over here. We'll see if he can get away with this or not. Slow it back down. Probe will likely run in the vision of this Overlord, so the Zerg player will know it's here. Now this is the important thing. He's not going to show the probe in the base. Sometimes it's nice to come in and scout the base and come back down, so it just looks like that probe's there to scout. We don't see any drones pulled just yet about this. And there's our first pylon. See, he knows the probe is there, and he hasn't seen it come into the base. That's... if you're a Zerg player and you see that scouting probe but you don't see it in your base, that's somebody being lazy about their cannon rush or their proxy. It's a very interesting spot for a cannon because there's so much surface area on this cannon. Big pull of drones, but it's a big commitment of resources here. This pylon is sectioning out this one cannon from getting attacked. That was interesting target firing. Did anybody else see that? He tried to target fire down the drones, but he ended up killing like none out of that first cannon just because he was trying to focus fire down too many of the different drones, and the natural health regen kept him alive. Little bit of a scrub there by epikfaal. Lost one cannon, so he's already put 600 resources into this attack. Nexus is going down. I believe he killed 2 workers for his troubles. Spine crawler didn't root up in the best spot. Spine crawlers can outrange cannons, so I'm a little bit surprised about this. He didn't have to lose anything, I feel, in taking this cannon out. Would have lost a little bit more hit points on this hatch, but he essentially threw away those Zerglings. Still not worthwhile. The cannon rush did get held off quite reasonably well. And now just lots and lots of droning up with speed behind this. Protoss player scrambled, make sure he gets his wall down all the way. Tech is obviously very delayed, but his Nexus is up in a pretty good time. Lots of Chrono Boost he can start using to get those probes out. Poke. Pulls everything out of gas there. With this big of a map and after a cannon rush, I'm about to say expect to see another hatch go down soon. You know that you've got yourself a bit of time. You're already at the 6-minute mark. And we were talking a little bit, me and some of the other players, about, if it's worth it to try and get that hatch down really soon, or just worry about saturating, less bases more effectively. And I think that getting down this hatch is smart because you've got this extra money you can't really spend right now. Get yourself out more larvae, keep your injects going, and really focus on getting out a couple of extra queens to be able to connect your creep. This extra hatch is really important, but it's quite a big distance between the bases if there was to be some sort of attack. Just going out for the watchtowers right now, which is very smart. Overlord's getting in position to be able to run into the base soon. We haven't seen anything else from the Protoss player yet. He's getting out that mothership core. We'll see if he wants to maybe go for a Stargate, or if he's just going to try to play this out. Wow, this is actually a really interesting play. Zerglings have speed, so we will chase that guy down. There's not much else the Zerg player can really do to punish this, though. He's making a few more Zerglings. But once one more probe gets down here to throw down a cannon or two, This is actually a really interesting move from epikfaal, and one I wouldn't have predicted. I would have thought he'd be way more likely to try to go for another 2-base play and try to deny this from going into the late game. I don't think this is a tight wall, but with 2 cannons, this should be held off just fine. Third hatch just finished up, more queens on the way. He's got a creep tumor moving, actually a couple. And he's retaken one of his gases. So I'm interested to see where this is going to go next. Such a long base, such a long map. Swarm hosts really aren't going to do you any good unless you're like Nidus networking them forward. So I've got to think he's going to go for some sort of Roach Hydra timing, which we've seen it that Sjors really doesn't care that much about using roaches. Maybe even mutas, but he would want to have up, all of 6 gases going, and potentially another hatch. And he's still on just hatch tech as well. No lair has been finished. It's just started now for the lair. Pretty sure this Overlord's gonna die. If he doesn't kill, I'll be surprised. Twilight going down with some Blink and a Robo. So just a good hardy mix of Protoss. It's going to help him stay quite stable into the mid and late game. Robo attack, get your observers out. Move into Immortals or Colossus if you need to. And then Blink keeps you alive against a lot of things. We've seen a couple of big rounds of workers pop out, but it's still quite equal on the worker count. The Protoss player is doing fantastic with his worker count right now. Lots of Chrono Boost straight into the Nexus. And there's no units on the map. On an amateur game, you'd look at this and just be appalled. There's like a Zealot and a Stalker that are essentially, that's all the Protoss has at the 10-minute mark. But when you know that it's just going into a flat, straight-up macro game, it's important that you just invest everything you got into being as economy forward as possible. There is our Spire. Production tab. And we have Immortals on the way as well. With the attack upgrades and Blink, I think that epikfaal is going to have what he needs to hold off a big Mutalisk play. But Mutas really aren't designed to just flat out win. They're usually designed to try to pull the game into a base trade. So many gateways. It's also throwing down a Stargate. I don't know. He's seen almost nothing. This is the vision of what epikfaal has seen in this game so far. He finally has an observer going out, but he doesn't know that its mutas on the way. I think it is a reasonable expectation it could happen. If that's the case, Stargate is something you'd really want out. 7 more gateways in production to go with the 4 that he's already got. Moving him up to 11. 4th hatch on the way, and the creep spread's actually fairly reasonable. It's not a lot of creep tumors. But both of these guys are pretty comfortable playing kind of a hands-off 15 kind of game. Couple static defenses, just to slow things down. 11 mutas on the way, and he's got his upgrades happening as well. Except no upgrades on the mutas, I'm pretty sure. If you're going into mutas, sometimes it's nice to at least get that +1. There it is. Very helpful to have. Thermal Lance, +3 attack. +3 attack, Blink Stalker, Colossus. Pretty damn good. In case you guys didn't know. Now we're just kind of waiting for the big piece of action to happen. Lots and lots of Lings happening, so it looks like it's going to be a Ling Muta kind of strategy, and that's really interesting. It's not one I've seen a lot of, but it is really designed for the base trade because, wow, those Zealots, well, they would do very good against the Zerglings. They are not going to do as good against, obviously, Mutas. Haha. First batch of mutas is going to come in. He's going for the pylons, and I don't think that's worthwhile. I think he should go after the probes here. Wants to get a free Colossus. We'll actually get the Mothership Core, though the Photon Overcharge does go down. He's getting a few more probes down here. He's losing a couple of mutas. But more than likely this is worth it. Big warp in of Stalkers, 10 at a time. They'll have +3 here pretty soon, along with leg speed as well. Not a big amount of mutas. How many on the map right now? Only 14. heck of a lot more stalkers out right now. They can do a lot more damage. But we see another big burst of mutas. Economy's still pretty good for the Protoss. He lost a chunk of workers, but he's already almost back up to 70 again. And I'm sure he's quite fine with that. When I see the Protoss move out like this without a mothership core, though, I'm a little bit worried. Yes, they're Blink Stalkers, and yes, they move quickly, but without a recall, you can't really expect to base trade super well against this kind of setup. Mutas actually sniped one of the Colossus. Nice grab there. Zerglings get held up at the front. I think the Mutas coming over here and picking off this wall would help out a great deal. Or at least send the Zerglings down here to do the damage. Because right now there's a whole bunch of damage stacked up at the front. It's not doing anything yet. Protoss stuff is going to get killed really quick. You guys probably already know that. Now we got to see if the Zerg player can kill things quick enough. Once again, there's no recall with that army. Splits up his units. He's not going after the probes. He's just flat up attacking anything he can. That's so many Zerglings. This is a really interesting style for this here. Supply blocks the Protoss player. He's gotten one of the Nexus down. More Zerglings still streaming across. Actually, these are drones. Ready to put up another hatch. And even though there's Protoss players sitting on a huge bank, there's no way for him to get home in time. I'm actually kind of surprised he's not walking home already. I don't think he can really expect to kill all the Protoss before... Sorry, all the Zerg before the Protoss just dies to everything here. This is a really smart play from the Zerg player, though. Don't get me wrong. He knew this was his strategy quite... I don't know about the whole game, but for a lot of it. Moving into those mutas and getting tons of Zerglings with some Zergling upgrades was him just knowing that, yeah, I'm probably going to get into a base trade, and this is what I need to do that. No GG, but that's because the last building was killed. Series is tied up at 1 apiece. SeKo Starcraft moving off to game number 3.